Hello everyone, and I'm your host Ingrid Thompson. Welcome to So You Want to Start a Business, episode number 84. Our guest today is Lee Hackett, who recently visited Sydney from the UK. I was fortunate to have this opportunity to interview him during his brief visit to Sydney. Lee has started a number of businesses, both in the UK and internationally. He has a particular passion for sales and marketing and the rapid change in technologies that drive sales and marketing in business today. I asked him about pricing strategies, and here is what he had to say.
So if you can work that out, do that value hypothesis with the client, then, for me, that's the pricing method that we would use of choice. But it's hard. It's difficult. It takes a lot more work up front, where sometimes it's easier just to say, hey, look, it might take me a week. Or you may take a price from your competitor or your competitors. But for me, value-based pricing is always the best approach in any business.
Well, there we have it. Value-based pricing in any business. And I know that a variety of people listening, and many of you are looking for ways to move away from piece pricing, hourly rates to value-based pricing. So Lee talks some more about that in the interview. He talks about how to use networking to truly impact business growth, especially in the early days. He's super clear about who is their ideal client, who are the businesses that his business works with and how they find them and how they connect with them. He talks about what happens when people get caught up with their exit strategy and take their eye off the business. There's all this and more in what is a short, sharp interview with Lee. As always, there's no advertising on this podcast. This episode is brought to you by my book with the same name as the podcast, So You Want to Start a Business. Head over to wherever you buy your books online for the Kindle or the physical book. The full audio version is being made available through the podcast. You may want to cycle back through some of the recent episodes where I'm reading various parts of the chapters of the books, and there are more on the way. If you prefer to read an extract, head over to thestartupsteps.com and there's about 20 pages waiting for you. Do you mind if I ask you a question? Maybe you've been listening to the podcasts for a while. Maybe you've read the book and you're working through some of the activities. Is it all right if I ask you, are you ready to chat with me about your business goals? Chat about where you want your business idea to take you? If we're connected on LinkedIn, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, maybe you'd like to send me a note. Connect and ask me any questions you have. Whether you're launching a brand new business or taking your existing company to new heights, I am here to help you turn that dream into a viable reality. Anyway, enough from me. Let's hear what Lee has to say about starting and running his own businesses and so much more. Are you ready? Let's go. Hello, and here we are today with Lee Hackett. Hello, Lee, and welcome to the most glorious Sydney day all the way from the UK. And I believe you just arrived.
I have, yeah. Hi, Ingrid. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I have, yeah. So that's why my throat's a little bit sore. But yeah, just arrived this morning and beautiful weather.
Beautiful weather. And I think, have you been talking all day to clients? And
I have, yeah, talking to clients and internally the team. So yeah, it's starting to get a bit of wear and tear on that front.
I bet you are. So tell us, Lee, what business are you in? What is your business?
Yeah, so Bluprint X is we're a global agency, Ingrid. Really, put simply, we drive revenue for our clients. So most of the clients that we work with are mid-market to enterprise, and whether it be here in ANZ and APAC or in EMEA, and it's all about how do we grow our customer base, how do we grow our revenues, and we help them do that through the use of technology, such as sales technology and marketing technology.
Fantastic. So when did you start Bluprint X?
So back in 2013.
Wow.
Was when we originally started it. It was a little bit before that when I had the idea. There's a bit of a story around that, but that was a little bit before that. But we really started trading with clients in September of 2013.
So you've grown very quickly, haven't you? So why did you start your business? What did you want the business to do for you?
Yeah. Well, a little bit of a story around that. So for me is, I'm a bit of a startup junkie. So this is my fifth business. So before that, I grew a business in the UK. quite large, and managed to exit that. Then grew a business in Dubai because I wanted to do an international project. But really, so naturally, the next succession for me was to grow a global business. And I'm really passionate about sales and marketing, particularly sales. Pretty good at it as well. So, and there's a lot of change in that industry, a lot of change around technology, which is changing how businesses sell. So I knew there was an opportunity there. And I knew it as a global scale. So it was the perfect vehicle.
Yeah, fantastic. So you've started businesses before, but for this business, when did this business feel real for you?
Oh, the minute I started it, right? Yeah. So the minute I spoke to the first potential customer, the minute the idea was in my head, it became real.
And so what makes a business real in your way of, you've had a number of businesses. What makes a business real?
I think for me, the real is when you get that first customer. Mm-hmm. I think too many businesses or too many people spend too much time planning, writing business plans, all of this kind of stuff, which is great, but there's nothing better than going out and getting your first customer. That's when it really makes it real.
Yeah, because somebody's paid you money. Mm.
Yeah, and you so all of a sudden now the business is real and you've got to deliver.
Yeah. So, okay, so you get the first customer and you've run businesses locally and in Dubai, like you said. How did you know there was a real global need for what you were offering? Because as you said, sales and marketing was changing, technology is changing so much. But what were the signals that was letting you know that there was a need for what you were offering?
So I was a user of those technologies in my previous businesses. I'd also done a little bit of consulting for other businesses, particularly big businesses who were looking in this area, and knew there wasn't a lot of expertise around because it was new. Mm. So it was quite easy for me to make the transformation from, understanding that there's a real market there, understanding there's a real opportunity. It was just really, how did I get to that opportunity? How did I access it? And how could I scale the business up?
So how did you do that? Because you don't go from being you, Lee Hackett, to being a global enterprise. How did you get there?
Yeah, I think it's understanding your go-to-market strategy. So, who are the people in the process of involved in buying those services. So in our context, we knew the big technology companies who basically developed the technology, and that was the people we needed to go and talk to because they had access to the clients. So if we could convince them that we were a viable option, we knew they would refer us into clients. So we didn't have, tens of thousands of dollars to put at marketing. We didn't have the credibility, but if we got their support, then we knew we could access the market, and that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, forming those alliances and those partnerships are so critical, aren't they? So how do you find new customers now? Is that still the way you work? Is through partnerships, through referrals?
Yeah, very much so. I kind of think of, where are the watering holes where our customers would live? So networking is obviously extremely important. Our technology partners, but latterly, or certainly over the last year, we've started to build our own brand. So we've developed our own, using the technology itself, and develop our own marketing capabilities to build our own brand. And I think that's, a scale thing. In the early days, it really is through those referrals because the cost of sale is a lot lower. The level of effort is a lot lower, but once you get to a particular size, then you can build your own marketing and sales function.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say about about networking, because I'd have to say the last 4 or 5 podcast interviews I've done is the interviewees have really reiterated the importance of networking. And I know this is a notice without question, but what does networking mean to you? Because people just don't know how to do that really well, do they?
Yeah, I think networking to me in particular means, again, understanding the watering holes where your customers will live, right? So if you're a local business based here in Sydney and your market is Sydney, then it makes sense to go to your local, networking group or, chamber of commerce or whatever that may be. But if for us, we're a global business, that makes no sense, right? Because our customers don't live there. And I think a lot of people do get that wrong in terms of not really understanding where their customers live. So for me, network is important, but making sure you network in the right areas, not just, where you think it might be fun, but actually, where are your customers living? So for us, going to, a partner of ours is Salesforce or Oracle or Google, going to their events where their customers will be is a good networking event for us. But as I said, a local Chamber of Commerce event in Sydney wouldn't be. But, if you're a local business in Sydney, then it's the opposite way around.
Yeah, terrific. How do you decide a pricing strategy? What would you say to somebody, about how to think about pricing?
We've just been talking about this, actually. So I'm a big believer in value-based pricing. So I think, again, in a services-led business like ours, a lot of pricing is done on time. So it may take me 3 days, 10 days, whatever. But, in what we try to do is quantify the value to the client of the work that we're doing. So if you can work that out, do that value hypothesis with the client, then, for me, that's the pricing method that we would use of choice. But it's hard. It's difficult. It takes a lot more work up front, where sometimes it's easier just to say, hey, look, it might take me a week. Or you may take a price from your competitor or your competitors. But for me, value-based pricing is always the best approach in any business.
Absolutely. Okay, so Lee, do you have an exit strategy? What's your approach to that notion of an exit strategy?
Yeah, well, look, luckily I've been able to do it a few times, so I have a bit of I guess, insight in that. But for me, an exit strategy is built on being successful. So when I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs or a lot of business operators, they're always thinking of the exit.
Yeah.
Now, for me, that is the wrong way to do it. It's really thinking about be successful first. If you can be successful and your business can do well in the market that it's in, then your exit will be there. But without it being successful, there's no exit. So it's really about where do you burn your energy. And that's really what I've always done. And the businesses that I've been involved in, we've been really focused on being successful, growing the business, making money, and then devising an exit is quite easy.
Yeah, I had a terrific interview with an American hacker, growth hacker, and he was saying just keep your head down, do your work, be the best you can be, that same sort of idea of just be successful, because then the rest follows, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've been in I've been in a lot of situations where, even before the business is originated or started, is that the exit strategy is being thought about, particularly in tech. Right. And I think that's often a recipe for disaster. Because if that's the focus, then, it's a long, hard road.
Yeah.
And you're going to quite quickly fall off that road.
Well, and it's such an interesting point, because what it actually does is takes your eye off the ball or off the main game, doesn't it? Because the main reason of being in business is to serve customers and do what you do.
Yeah.
It's a terrific point. Thank you. Okay, so there's probably not much you wish you'd known from the start, but what did you bring with you from the other businesses so what are some of the things that maybe, or one thing that you just did differently in this business that you took from the other business?
Yeah, definitely. I think culture is for me something that is super important. That I can honestly say in my previous businesses didn't even think about one minute. They were in a different business in a different industry. But the importance of culture, the importance of of keeping everyone on the same track, keeping everyone pointing forward, particularly if you're trying to scale fast. Like I am, my MO is fast growing businesses. 200, 300% a year. That takes a lot of hard work, and having the right people, having the right culture is massively important. So for me, that's latterly in my career something that's become a much more important ingredient.
That's probably one of the reasons that your voice is holding out for the day, because you've been building culture all day as you've been talking to people.
Definitely.
It takes that sort of effort, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, it does.
So who's of the greatest assistance to you as you've grown businesses for you yourself? Who do you turn to?
You know what? I honestly don't have an answer for that question. So, because I think for me, there's not one person that I turn to. I'm a big believer in mentors. I mentor a few people. I get most of my knowledge from books and from podcasts and all of these kind of things. But there's not one person that I've turned to in my career and go, hey, can you help me with this? Not that, as I said, not that I'm against it. For me personally, I never need someone to co-sign the checks. I like making the decisions. I'll get some right, I'll get some wrong. So I'm cool with that.
Yeah, it sounds like you're good at decision making, and it doesn't matter if they get them wrong because you just fix it and move on. Yeah, so obviously people come to you with their ideas for business. What in general do you say to someone? And you've kind of alluded to some of the answer for this through the interview. Is somebody's thinking about starting a business, what do you say to them?
Don't underestimate how hard it is. I think it's particularly these days it's glamorized a lot, and that's right. However, it's a tremendous amount of hard work. Yeah. So it's massively, massively important that obviously these things are not underestimated. And if they are, then quite quickly it's going to fail.
Yeah. I totally agree with you about the glamorization of having your own business, because it's so much more difficult. There is no overnight success. I mean, your business is growing at the speed it's growing because of the work that you're doing, because of the people you've pulled together, the IP, the ideas, the network, all of those sorts of things. Yeah. So, Lee, personally, 3 characteristics that you have that make you successful in business.
Good question. So, number 1 would definitely be resourcefulness. Mm-hmm. I think, you have to be resourceful. In that and a problem solver, which then kind of go hand in hand. For me, if you haven't got those as a business, because ultimately every problem's yours, and the ultimate accountability sits with you. So if you can't, resolve problems quickly, if you're not resourceful and can solve issues and challenges quickly, you're going to struggle. And I would definitely say the other one is self-awareness. So for me, understanding what you're good at and understanding what you're maybe not as good at, and getting people around you who fill those blanks and fill those areas is a very important ingredient. And if I look at people that around me who I deem to be successful in business, they kind of have those characteristics as well.
Yes, I was just listening to Tony Robbins talking about his early days and how he was down and picking up his dry cleaning, and he said, what is he doing down in the queue picking up his dry cleaning when there's someone else could be doing that? And that sort of thing is so easy today. I mean, he's talking about so long ago, but you're right. What is it that someone else should be doing? Lee, thanks so much for your time. Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you would like to say? I know you're in Sydney right now. By the time this goes to air, you'll probably be gone. But, is there something about your business you'd like to share, or something else you'd like to say to the audience, please? No,
I'd just like to thank you, actually, and just say, look, great podcast.
Thanks.
Really appreciate you bringing me on. And I know this is targeted at people, thinking about starting a business. And my advice today would be just give it a go. And and do something that you're really good at or passionate about, and give it a go. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then try another one.
Try something else. Thanks so much. And from someone who's so successful, I think those words are even more valuable, or as valuable as anybody else's. So we appreciate your time so much, Lee. Thank you.
Thanks, Ingrid.
He's so encouraging, isn't he? And it's gratifying to receive a great interview endorsement there from Lee at the end, just as I clipped off the recording. Interviews like this help me do what I do better, and I trust it has a similar impact on you. What are your thoughts about what Lee has to say about business, about networking, about pricing, about focus on clients? You can hear his energy even after a really long flight and all day with clients and his team. He had a few gems there about team and self-awareness, didn't he? What are you taking away? What have you learnt from Lee? For everyone listening, whether this is your first episode or you've been with us for some time, I truly believe that whatever you are dreaming about can become real. These podcasts are designed to inspire, educate, and inform about what it takes to start, create, and grow a business of your own. We truly believe these podcast interviews provide terrific value, and if you agree, I'd love you to pop over to iTunes and make a comment and rate the podcast. We all know this helps spread the show with more people. Thank you in anticipation. What questions do you have? How can I help you? Have you read the book? If you have any questions, email me please, ingrid@healthynumbers.com.au or through LinkedIn. I'll reply directly. I answer all my email questions because it's important for you to have what you need. As we always say here on this podcast, ideas without action, well, they are just that, ideas. What actions are you inspired to take today? Till the next time, thanks for listening.